Today we're going to be going through another sharing steak. So this is a fillet head or a Chateaubriand. Okay, so it came to me frozen. I left it in the fridge overnight, and then I took it out of the fridge about 40 minutes ago because I wanted to come to room temperature. And the reason for that is because I just don't want to put a freezing cold steak into the pan. I have a pan on there getting on hot. So all you want to do is take the fillet out of the packet, and then you can get rid of the packet. I just have a piece of kitchen towel there to dry up any of the excess moisture that was in there. And I'll just dry the steak off a little bit, and I'll show you what I want to do now. So on the top of the steak here, you see there's a little bit of that white silver skin, and I'm just going to take a knife and just push it underneath the silver skin, and I'm going to remove that. The reason why I want to remove that is that that can tend to be a little bit tough and give the impression that the steak is tough, and it won't be tough at all. Okay, so we just make our way along, get rid of all that silver skin. There's a little bit more there. Now, the difference between that and fat is that fat will actually render down when you're cooking, but that silver skin won't. Okay, so that's why it's important that we remove that. Just a little bit more there I'm going to take off. And then this steak is then ready to move into the pan. Okay, so I'll just have a plate there, I'll get rid of that. And what we're going to do now is that I'm just going to oil up that steak. As I said, I have a heavy based skillet pan or a heavy frying pan on the stove, and you want that on a nice high heat. And I'm going to just oil that steak now and season it with some salt. So on one side, I'm going to turn it over, a little bit more oil, a bit more salt. So there's nearly 1 kilo of meat there, so it probably looks like I'm putting a lot of salt on there, but a lot of that will stay behind as it's roasting. Okay, and as I said, this is a sharing steak for 2 people, and it's probably the leanest way to go for choosing one of the sharing steaks. So your options are, you've got your Chateaubriand or your fillet head, you've got your Côte de Boeuf or your ribeye or cowboy steak, and then you've got your bone-in strip loin or your New York steak. Okay, so as you can see now, this is starting to get nice and hot. Okay, so a little bit of oil into this as well, and then what we want to do, just make sure that that's nice and oiled. We're going to drop it into that pan, and that's what we're hoping to hear. Okay, so I'm going to sear this off in this pan for 3 to 4 minutes until I get it all nice and golden all the way around. I have my oven preheating to 190 degrees, and then I'm going to roast that steak in the oven for about 20 minutes. I'm going to cook the steak medium rare, and then I let it rest for about 15 minutes. So the technique that we're using here is we're going to sear and roast the fillet head. Wonderful caramelization, which is what we're going for here, because that's where the flavour comes in. So just spend 2 or 3 minutes on each side of the steak, and this is what we're trying to get here, lots of colour. Okay, so after I've seared it off and I'm happy that I've got enough colour all the way around, I'm going to pop it into the oven, and I'm going to roast it for about 20 to 25 minutes. Now, this is going to make its way into the oven now, and this is what we really want. We want to make sure it's seared all the way around, and then it's going to head into a preheated oven at 190 degrees for 20-25 minutes, and then it's going to rest for about another 15 minutes before we carve. Now the beef has had 20 minutes in the oven, and I'm going to take it out, and which is arguably the most important part of cooking any steak, especially a big piece of meat like this, is to let it rest. Okay, so that's had 20 minutes in the oven now. It's going to have to rest for a good 10 or 15 minutes. At this point, I like to just season it up with a good twist of pepper. And I'm going to turn it around and season it on the other side as well. And as you can see, I have a small little resting rack just to sit, so I don't have to put that hot skillet pan straight onto the countertop. So I'll give it a good twist of pepper like that. Turn it around again. And now I just have a little piece of tin foil. We're going to place that over the meat. And what we're doing now is we're allowing that the residual heat that's in the meat to make its way through, and just let all the juices make its way up and down through the meat, and let it relax before I carve. And that way, when I carve the meat, the juices will stay in the meat and they won't all run out onto the chopping board. Now, my fillet has had a good 15 minutes to rest. So what I'm going to do now is just going to move it up onto the chopping board, and I'll show you how to carve it. So, all I want to do now is just run my knife down along the meat. And I'm going to move it across onto this plate. And then I'd like to just season it with a little bit more sea salt, a couple of twists of pepper, and that's our fillet head, or our Chateaubriand for 2 people sharing steak.